It's in the bones. Woo. What? Ah. Yo, them bagpipes getting the bones. Woo. Woo. That's our brother DJ ZPE, our beloved Agidoyo, okay? Nafki, brother, all right? Whatever you want to call your son, your fellow God. So how y'all doing this day? First and foremost, whenever I'm talking about Chazars, that's not at all, it's called Goja, is what they are. I am not beating up on those like my uncles. They saw my video and they loved it. Well, there are people out here, such as, I don't really want to mention names. I don't want to defile characterizations, regardless of je ne revois. But the reality is, on my ancestral soil, I don't care about no platform, no agency, no corporation. There's a difference. When I say the majority of the world does not know any truth, nor do they know their origin and reality, it's not a game. When I said everywhere that they have you looking outside of, I was the only one ever saying this. Now people are following and they're catching on, they're digging up stuff. That these Guzar did not change, nor that their youngling, the offsprings who have been conditioned to perform duties, no matter how retarded and stupid they may be, because they don't know how to make good choices or decisions. With rightful decisions. May do or whatever. When I say Greece, Italy, all that was here and all of us was there. Everything was everywhere. Yet people have a hard time accepting the reality of the truth also that we were everywhere. See, they want you to be canonized to one space or one plot. If that wasn't the case, these perversions wouldn't be pushing the out of Africa with the most worthless individuals who stand by it. I actually see posts all the time, and I don't follow a lot of these people. I just don't believe in following nobody. I appreciate y'all come over to partake in the festivities that I'm bringing. Okay? I don't want to be, and I know you go back and look at videos and be like, hey, first of all, a lot of it was acting, but also the spike in interest. But it was not steeped or based on lies. The rhetoric dealing with the time and the essence that most are all-inclusive in, as I am, emotions and feelings are running rampant at their highest. Wars don't happen without emotions and feelings, but these are so-called men who have no control, and the consort of the women who have bridged that gap, who stand there, is the affliction that we deal with. Now, before I further go on, I'm going to shout out everybody in here. Rondo, what's going on, Namki? Ocelot, what's up, beloved? Yeah, both of y'all beloved, you know that. Snoo, what's up, baby? Got some love, y'all. Mikey Cox, what's happening, beloved? What's good? Alicia and Cooper, what's up, beloved? Big Dog Philly, what's up, beloved? This is going to be pretty interesting. I've got quite a few things to throw around. Some things come out of religious consort, not to take out of context, but to break things down phonetically. So maybe, because a lot of y'all know some of the books I read, so maybe we can have a different focus with a little more information, okay? But now, as I was stating, I am not here to beat up on the Jews. That narrative is their creation. Now, is it from somewhere else? Of course it is. That's like me proving the Star of David has nothing to do with any individual named David. Not saying the moniker doesn't apply, but it is Remphan. What is Remphan? We broke that down. I didn't have to go all out. I talked about when you go in the courthouse, the goddess Venus, the one you see holding the little scale with the blind on. It means it's not about, it's a choice. That's not a place you have to enter, but because they have jackboots, if you want to call them SS, people geared in irrational behavior and who are utterly emotional, that's why they have a placard. Like some people, I know people who are trained, over 275 individuals physically and mentally, to talk about joining the police department, knowing what they were going through, what they've been through. I always ask them, was your brother murdered, blah, 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 blah. Between New York and Jersey and Delaware, yes, I trained over 275 guys. Even here, 10 guys going back on the police force are joining. And and what I noticed was the ones that didn't get taken in were the most informative, well-rounded, morally sounded. Now, I've had those guys who went on the force for 10 to 15 years and they left because they knew they were doing some bad things. They knew some things that made sense, because I always expressed to every one of those guys, study the Constitution, know the Constitution, so that way you can go and become a marshal or sheriff, if you have. And I always tell them, don't be mentioning my name, don't be... A couple have when I was in New York, you know, when I was conversing with Batman and those guys over there by Mount Vernon and the Triangle of Yonkers and where I lived out in Bronx and Soundview as well. Even in Brooklyn, a couple of those guys. And it's mind-boggling when you realize the ones who stayed, and then you come to find out some of the things they did, and the internal battle. A couple of them committed suicide, but the internal battle that's ongoing. You know, when you go out and you strike out for a job, you don't go in thinking to be a slave. First of all, you were indoctrinated into slavehood. For those who don't know, all of you, literally. All of us born in the 60s, runner-ups, first ones. Privatized. You want to prove it? Social Security number. And then people say, well, Red, why did you go and create your OEIN? Well, if I have to, because I study constitutional law and I understand the corporate and business law of things, I know what to do. But because I know my heritage and I know who I am, and I'm affluent to the history of the truth, and the truth of history. History and the truth, and truth of history. And not made up. Not dynamically. I'll utilize it if I have to. If needed. Not because of a want. I'd rather go into the woods, dig a hole, make brush and briar, and dig when nobody knows, and be well so far on the ground you'll never know I existed. Now, back to what I was stating. Unless I fall through a cavern 1,000 feet down, to which, whatever. That would never happen with me. But I'm just saying, okay? I'm going to bring some things up. And we're going to discuss some things. Because we need to. So there's more people realizing this, and they're pulling up old world maps and everything else, and they're realizing that you've been duped. And the historical lies from the early 1900s, starting in the late 18. Anything before that is paramount to fiction. I digress. I asked y'all, what tribe did Crispus Attucks belong to? What nation? We think tribe and nation, we think running around woods and in grass with, feathers in our hair. That's ceremonial. Grass skirts. And no, we wore suits for thousands of years, people. We had vehicles that didn't require gas. Before gas, it was alcohol. Y'all aware of that? The fall, tartary. Before that, electric always existed, but it wasn't the electric you see today, AC and DC. That was re-engineering, because all of the main things that can gather it were gone, but the government still had those particulars and dissimulation of metals and everything else, like aluminum when that came to be. Nickel, zinc, and boron, which they have craft now that move on the frequencies like the scarab beetle. Yes, we had those things thousands of years ago. The rigid air vehicles, thousands, didn't fly but by helium. They took on the ether, pure oxygen, a balance. You don't have to believe me. I'm not here to make anybody believe anything, but people, what I've been stating since, like I said, well, that I wasn't talking about in 78. I was pointing out these pictures that had these big blimps before the Hindenburg. That was the coup d'etat, okay, in Jersey. That was the destruction of that part of Tartary. And then commercialized for Goodyear, Michelin, and so on. Yet people are starting to realize this. If you take copper and steel and magnets, you can create energy right out of here. In certain parts of the earth, you could take one of them plugs. If you have a ground pole, stick it in the dirt, and hook it to a light bulb, and the light comes on. This is not fiction. But because most people are unaware, because that was not part of the curriculum, they're dynastically equipped with the situation awareness that was given. not nurture. So, as you see in the thumbnail, that is what I'm going to discuss at the end. Okay? What I wanted to do is I wanted to break down something. We know there are a lot of Bible thumpers, and that's cool. Like I said, I'm going to read a whole lot of stuff to you. The day of the approaching, I'm going to read all those things, and I'm going to break things down, and not based upon my opinion. On world travels, conversations with many of individuals, and somebody had got upset about this rabbi. I says, look, man, hold up. I'm not going to sit here and read all the books. I am expressing to you that rabbis are not part of who we are, nor our heritage of truth. They are a new thing, created by the Cashapp, misleading and misrepresenting even the converts who know no better because they've been nurtured into the lie. The word goyim comes from the Cashapp, but nobody wants to know what it means. Well, we'll get into that. All right. First, I wanted to get into Isaiah 53 because the Christians run to this. It says, "Who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed?" Arm. Who has believed our message? Believe means to accept something outside of its proximity of truth and not know. So now what your belief is will extrapolate you knowing something, right? Well, how could you know if it's that you still have to believe in order to make it something? Well, again, the word abracadabra, speak it and create it, right? Check this out now. He grew up before him like a tender shoot, and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. Only the face of a mother could love. Did I tell you all about Quasimodo? 5'4", hunching his back, nappy hair, dark as midnight, almost bluish black. You didn't want to study that, did you? Out of the ground means the mother's womb. I want you to research this information. Who has believed our message? Whose message? You got to remember who's rewriting this. Who's the prophets if it's not by Noah, which has another name. We know that. All right. A few of them, some of y'all even watched me work hard to pronounce, surprisingly. We'll get into that another day. Okay, to stay focused. He was despised and rejected by mankind. Who is mankind? Aren't we but man and woman? Mankind asserts something outside of itself, just like kid alludes to a goat or child to a what animal? I didn't turn it off. Earth speaks. Advise me, not right now, brother. He was despised and rejected by mankind. That means man and woman, people. The thought or process of thought. A man of suffering and a familiar with pain. That was very painful. He was in the shape he was in. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him low to esteem. So it wasn't no fake pale skin Jesus, all majestic with blonde flowing hair, blue eyes looking upon. That's all a lie. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed by our iniquities. That's the state of being. Pierced by our transgressions mean to carry on, to continue in the perversions and not adhere or listen. Doesn't mean stuck up on some stick, some fake cross, because a cross is actually like this. This is not a cross. This is a cross if you're looking to measure something, but crossed out. Like 1 times 1. If times is multiplied, that means it cannot cancel out itself. Pay attention. Simple stuff. He was crushed for our iniquities. The host or the spirit and asking and requiring, and people go against it, is a crushing blow. Okay? Not under, that's heavy weight. By those who would have that same energy around you, not a stone. And by his words we are healed. What is words? What are words? Aren't they frequencies? Don't get all brash about the idiots talking about, oh, you frequency vibration, because those are people who don't know they're vibrating at a very low, not in a medicinal way. So what is that? Think about it. And by his wounds we were healed. Okay, by his wounds. What do? I always say wounds are words. Well, what are they? Ouch! What does that mean? Some people go like this, right? Because of the power of that, right? Wounds are words, y'all. They're afflictions. See, we think about the act because we've been conditioned to look at the beheadings or the scarification and the 1001 cuts and all the things. Those are words. Those are based on broken frequencies and vibrations. But yet it says we are healed by his wounds. It doesn't mean because he was nailed to the cross. You know, when you walk into a court, right? And that person that's going against you, and you got your defense, the prosecutor, they are nailing you to a cross, even if you're innocent. And we know that is the truth. Okay? Yet he did not open his mouth. What was I saying about song and dance? Who remembers, what was it, a few weeks ago when I was talking about it's important to hum? And I was sitting there going, we think we hear it up in here, but it's actually all around us. It's literally like a shield. Fine tune it. Okay? He was led like a lamb to the slaughter. What are you doing when you say you're a friend of somebody and you're walking with a group of individuals and you're all high on your ego and then y'all turn around and jump him? Didn't y'all mislead this person and make him think that y'all were his brothers, his friend, his comrade, his associate? And then it took all of you to jump on this individual. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter. And as a sheep before its shearers is silent. You know, when you see these big costume characters jumping on people and beating them down. I watched this one video where they pull this guy out of the car. Wrong guy, mind you. And just go to wally whooping on him because he went for his phone to record them. Let me turn off these notifications.